last man standing at the bar?
Would be Mr. Fuji.
Really? I've never, in the 50 times or something I've asked that, I've never had Mr. Fuji as an answer.
Yes, Mr. Fuji was a master. He got Outback Jack. He put together this whole angle because Outback Jack was a big bragger, and I like Jack. He's a decent guy, but he kind of believed his gimmick, that Outback Jack gimmick, and the Bulldogs would just drive him nuts. One day, the Outback had the big old knife that he had. He wanted to actually kill him because they cut the crocodile off the back of his jacket. They did everything, and he turned around and gave Matilda X-Lax. It went on and went on. So now they're going to have Fuji says they got to settle the score and have a drinking contest, and we're in San Francisco at the Holiday Inn, and after the matches, it's going to be Davy Boy against Outback, and of course Dynamite's there, Fuji's there, but the referee is Mr. Fuji, and this is why I say he's last man standing. It's because every time one of them would get Outback's attention, and Fuji would drop a couple halcyons or whatever in somebody's drink. And Fuji never got drinking under the table. He was always the last man standing. And I've seen a lot of people come and go, but that particular night, Jack finally fell. Brunzell was there as well. Besides the Bulldogs, there were a lot of the guys there, and he fell completely just bam, flat on his back. And he looked up and he said, "Fuji, you put some shit in my drink, mate. I know you did." He goes, "Because I cannot drink all three of you, blah, blah, blah." So he's still bragging. Anyway, Jimmy and I get him and try to take him back to the room, but the Bulldogs are peeing on him. And I'm saying, "Oh, man, come on, guys, don't pee on him like this. This is terrible." And Brunsey was peed too. And so, finally they stop peeing on him, and we get him to his room, and Dynamite couldn't help it. Got to pee on him one more time right in his face. And Outback turns around and can barely look up, and he says, "I've been pissed on by better blokes than you." And I'll never forget that. So later on that night, James, Jimmy and I are hungry. So we go to the restaurant there. It's really decorated nice. And you can either sit at the bar and eat or in these seats. And all of a sudden, this guy opens this door. It's Outback. He's completely naked. He only has on his cowboy boots and his hat. And he sits at the he sits at the bar, and he orders some food and orders something. We're at a table a little bit back, and we're trying to hide, like we want to make sure nobody knows that he's not with us. And he gets up and he starts peeing in the fake palm tree inside the restaurant. Oh my gosh, cops wind up coming in, and they wound up letting him go that night. But sorry for the long story, but last man standing, Mr. Fuji.
Well, he probably stank of piss, so they wanted to get him out of the jail as quickly as possible. Did you ever?
They were kind. They didn't take him to jail, actually. They took him back to his room, and they laughed.
Did you ever see the time when Outback Jack got was it his hat glued to his head?
I was there. Yes, I was there. It was we were in a town in California. I think it was Sacramento. And he would always put his hat upside down when he was all showered and everything. He was kind of a ritual guy. He had this special ritual. And so again, it's Dynamite Kid. And another funny thing happened that night, right before that. But Dynamite got Outback's attention where they timed it pretty darn decent. And Davey got the super glue, rubbed it around all the rim of his hat as good as he could down. They're talking. Davey stops. So naturally now the next move is for Outback to grab his hat. They pulled it off so slyly. I watched this happen, and I'm going, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this." So Outback puts his hat on. and they're talking, and they kept talking some more because they wanted that super glue to dry really good. So they're asking him more questions and more questions, and because his last thing was always he'd bend over and take his hat off and say good day, mates, and or tally ho, whatever he would say when he left, tally ho, mates, and so he goes to do that at the end, and he starts pulling on his hat, and it won't come off. The next day we see him, he just leaves it. The next day we see him, and he's got no hair around here. And he tried to get his hair closer, but he couldn't get it close enough where he could still see the rim where it pulled out all the hair and all half of his skin on his head. Oh, they were cruel.
Was that the last straw for Outback, or what sort of made him sort of leave for good, or was he fired?
I really can't answer that question, James. We were running like 3 towns a night back then, and pretty soon, we didn't see Jack. So I don't honestly know what happened, how he wound up leaving. But there was several back and forth altercations and stories.
Well, it's probably best that he left before God knows what was glued to him next.